Hello guys, welcome back to our 100 days coding challenge. Trust we are doing great. This is a full stack development training, web development training, and we've done really good thus far. Looking at the journey behind from introduction to what the web is, to introduction to HTML, to introduction to CSS, to building a simple web page, to integrating multiple pages to our website, introduction to Git and GitHub, how we can push our code and pull from the hub to our desktop. Today, we are going to be diving into something in connection with our front-end web development. Like you know, we are still trying to figure out the front end of the website, how the website should look like, the beauty of the website. And one really cool thing I've come to see and understand about the website and web development is that the styling is very important. The beauty of your site is really important. And that's the main reason we're introducing Bootstrap today. So Bootstrap is a framework for styling your web page. So it's a CSS framework. And this framework simply makes the job of writing a whole lot of CSS code easier for you. So you have like pre-styled components that you just drag and drop page that makes your web page really beautiful and easy to work with. So today we'll be diving into Bootstrap, how to connect Bootstrap to your website, and some basic ways to use Bootstrap. Bootstrap has got documentation, so you don't need to memorize a whole lot of things. You just have to copy and paste. All you need to do is to read the documentation, understand what it is about, and you can tailor it to your specific need at a time. So let's go ahead and see how we can do that. How do we connect Bootstrap to our web page? How do we use it alongside our HTML and our CSS files? So here we are going to open a folder which I've created already. So let's go and open our folder. I have that folder in my desktop called Bootstrap. This is a folder. I'll select that folder like index.html here. And let me create another file called styles.css. Okay. So we'll have our index.html and we'll have our styles.css file. So let's generate a boilerplate just like that. For today, let's change our title to Bootstrap. Bootstrap, yeah. So just like that. Now, we can also link our CSS file here, but let us go ahead and link our Bootstrap first before we can link our CSS to our HTML. So how do we do that? Let's go to our browser, and here let's look for Get Bootstrap, which is the website for Bootstrap. So getbootstrap.com, this is a website. So I will just tap here and open this so you can see the most popular HTML, CSS, and JS library. So it's the framework for styling your website. And here we have our Bootstrap open. So this is the website for Bootstrap. And the first thing you will do is to try and connect your Bootstrap to your web page. Try and connect your Bootstrap to your web page. And we're going to use the CDN to do that. So just go down. Here we have install via package manager, but we want to use a CDN to do this. So the package manager you need to install, download and install, but CDN we just have to copy and paste the link. So the first link we'll copy is going to be this link, which is our CSS link. So we'll just tap here and copy this, then go to our VS Code, and we're going to paste this at the head tag. So head over to our head tag, and then I'm going to use Ctrl V to paste this. So let's word wrap this. So go to view and word wrap to wrap this. Yeah. So here we've been able to copy our link for CSS from the Bootstrap website, and we've pasted it in the head tag. The next thing we will do is to copy the script, which is the JavaScript, right? So we'll copy the script, the CDN script from the Bootstrap website, and here we'll paste it here at the body tag. The JS script is always at the body tag, the bottom of your website, because you don't want your website to be loading JavaScript when it's opening. When your website is opening, the first place it's checked is the head tag. That is why most times you see that your website opens with a logo, your navbar, and all that, before it gets to the body. So you don't want to put your JavaScript code or the link to your JavaScript at the head tag, such that the loading of your website doesn't take so much time. So you always want your JavaScript to be at the bottom of the website, such that your website can load before the JavaScript files will load. So a visitor to your website is able to see your website content going down, and before the person can get down, your JavaScript has already loaded in your website, and so it makes your website loads even faster. All right, so here let's paste the script tag here. So meaning we're going to write all our code from here to here, and this is going to stay down, right? This is going to stay down. Great. Now we've been able to link our Bootstrap to our website just by copying and pasting the links. So we have the CSS link, and we also have the JavaScript link there. So once that is done, the next thing you need to do is to check and see if it's connected. So how do we do that? First, we are going to look. So we're going to do something here. So let's have a p tag here. Remember, with our p tag, we can just say this is a test here. We save. So let's go. Okay, we can open this with the live server. Now, before then, I need to show you guys something. So you can, you need to install an extension that will also help you with Bootstrap, which is this extension, Bootstrap 5 Quick Snippets. So just go to your extensions and search for Bootstrap 5 Quick Snippets, and from here you can install this extension. So you can go through the resources of this extension, read about it. All right. One thing I want you guys to do is to always try and read documentations. Don't always base yourself to just what I'm giving you here. You need to also do a bit of research yourself, right? So go through the resources, go through the documentation, and see what the Bootstrap 5 snippet is all about. So you can actually get the code for your Bootstrap directly from this particular plugin, right? So just install. Once you install, you should have it here in your VS Code. Okay. So let's see if our Bootstrap is connected. Here, I will open this with live server. So this is a test. So normally in HTML, we can just have a head tag like this and say this is a heading, right? Okay, I'll just copy this out and say this is a heading. Now, but with Bootstrap, we can have a class here and call this H1. And so you see, by just adding the class H1 with Bootstrap, it makes the P tag, the paragraph tag, as though is an H1 tag, right? So we can have, sorry. So this is class, yeah. Okay, so we can have display one as a class, and it displays that way, looking bigger than the H1 tag. Remember, this is H1 tag. We can have display 2, we can have display 3, we can have display 4, and all the way to display 6. All right, so which is bigger than the H1 tag? Now, let me explain this about Bootstrap. So Bootstrap actually thrives on classes. So in Bootstrap, we use classes to work. Basically, we use classes to work. So we have classes that are predefined in Bootstrap that we use to work. So if you want to give, let's say this test color now, we can simply just say test, and then we can give it color. So let's say tests primary, and here we've given it a color of test primary without adding any style sheet to it. So by just using the class and giving it test primary, it gives us a primary color for our test. We can also say something like BG, and let's say BG success, and it changes the background of our test to a shade of green. So this is how Bootstrap works, right? So without connecting our CSS style sheet to this, we are able to add styling to our website without any internal styling or inline styling. So this is the beauty of Bootstrap. So Bootstrap actually thrive with classes. So we use classes to style Bootstrap. Everything we're going to do about Bootstrap or with Bootstrap is going to be through the classes. It's going to be through the classes, if that is clear. So every class you want to add is just to leave a space. So here we have 3 classes. The first class is the display to increase the font of our web or of our test. The second is to give the test a color, and the third one is to give the background a color. So it's just to give a space. Once you give a space, you can put in your next class. So here I can still give it and say, let me say P4, something like that. And I can say maybe M10, something like that. Or let's say M5, something like that. Now, I will explain all this. But you see, all we need is to give a space and add our next class. Give a space and add our next class. So we can add as many classes as possible in one Bootstrap tag. And I hope that is clear. So Bootstrap actually, Bootstrap, everything about Bootstrap, it's about the classes. So we use the classes to style on our tags in Bootstrap. Okay, we can go to our Bootstrap documentation. Like I said, you don't need to memorize everything. So we can go to our Bootstrap documentation. And from here, at the far left, you will see that we have this drop-down menu. So here you can go through the introduction and read about it. You can go to the contents. Just take your time and go through Bootstrap and just read about Bootstrap. All right. Just read about Bootstrap. So from here you can see the size, the options, the colors, the models, components. Just go through it. Take your time, go through it. All right, just go through it. There are a lot of things here. These are forms. So some of these things are things you can just copy and paste. We are going to get to that pretty soon. You can just copy them and paste them, right? Just copy and paste in your website, and then you are good to go. All you need to do is just to make sure you know what you are looking for, and then you can actually work them to become exactly what you're looking for. All right, so first I want us to look at typography. So under content we have typography. So here we can see basic documentation about typography and Bootstrap. So you can just go through your typography documentation. So if you want to move to anything, you just type it and then it moves you directly to that whatever you're looking for. So you didn't need to scroll down, all the way. So if you're looking for something, just tap. Maybe you want a block code or something, tap and it will take you there. Now, like I said, here we have our head tags. We have our head tags. So you see with the class H1, you can turn a normal paragraph tag to an H1 header tag. So we have H1 to H6, just like we can use it in our HTML normally. And if you just want to use this, all you need to do is to tap here, copy this to your website, and you are good to go. So here we also have the display where you can display your text. Like I say, this is a bigger than the H1 tag. So we have display 1 to display 6, just like that. So display -1, that is for display 1, display -6 for display 6. All right, so here we also have the font sizes. So if you want to use your font sizes in Bootstrap, we use mostly the REM in Bootstrap. So you can check and see which font size is good enough for you to use. Just copy and paste and see how it works. All right. And then here we also have like inline styling of your element, just like we have in HTML, where you can use your insert, your block quotes, small, superscript, italics. So here we also have them in Bootstrap. So like I say, these things, they come as classes in Bootstrap. So you can use them in your work. So just copy. So for instance, we can just copy this, go to our VS Code, and then we can paste it here. So when you paste it, you see it comes the way it is from Bootstrap. So this is so you can just shoot through it. You can use the mark tag to highlight the text. So here the mark tag here to highlight the text. So if you want to highlight everything, then the mark has to start from the beginning, from here to here, and we are able to mark everything. So let's copy this and let's paste this here, and let's remove this mark here. So just like that, we've been able to mark this. So here you see delete del, just to cross it out as if it's deleted. We also have X, the S tag. We have the insert tag. We have the U tag for underline. We have the small tag to make it small. All right, so you can walk through it. So like I said from the beginning, you don't really need to memorize all these things. Yeah, you need to know them, maybe a few of them, but they are there in Bootstrap documentation. All you need to do is just pick what you're looking for and read through, understand what it is, and you can use it in your web page. That is the beauty of Bootstrap. That is the beauty of Bootstrap. Okay, so that being said, I want to introduce us to something that is really cool about Bootstrap, that makes Bootstrap really interesting, and that is the Bootstrap grid style. The Bootstrap grid style. So in Bootstrap, for this, I would love to open this with my. So let's open this with our Microsoft Edge. Okay. Now, in Bootstrap, we work with columns. So Bootstrap, you can have a row, one row, and in that one row, you have 12 columns divided to 12 columns, the vertical. So one row, 12 columns. Maybe I can use my paint to do this because I want us to understand this. So let's have this as a row. And inside this row, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So we have 12 columns. Please pay attention. This is really going to help you. So this is just one row. So we can have another row here. And in this row, we can also have 12 columns. 12 columns. Now, in this row where we have 12 columns, it simply means that we can actually decide to place our elements using either one column, two columns, 6 columns. So we can say, okay, we want to have an image tag, and we want that image tag to take just one column or 6 columns. And then we want to have our text on the other side. I want the text to take the remaining 6 columns, right? And like I told us before, the web page is such that the width from here to here is 100%. 100% from here to here is 100%. So if the width is 100%, the width is now representing the 12 columns. So that means if we're taking account of the columns we are using, we're going to say, okay, if I use 4 columns here, if I use 4 columns here in my image tag, that means I will have 8 columns here for my text or for my other div or my tag. If that makes sense, let's go to VS Code and practicalize that. So here, inside our VS Code, the first thing we will do is to have a div tag, and I'm going to call this div tag container. Now, a div tag with the class of container. One thing I want you guys to know is that in Bootstrap, the container, the name container as a class, it's actually a Bootstrap element. So if I save this and go to my browser and refresh, okay, let's have something for that container so that the container is visible. The CSS for now. Let's use the CSS. So let's link our CSS file so that I can drive home that point. So here, let's add a CSS file here. You already know how to do that. Save. So let's go to our CSS and let's look for a container. And let's give it the background color of aqua, and let's give it the border. Just border. Let's make that 1ps solid black. And let's give it the height so that we can actually see what it is about. Let's just say 300 ps for now and save. Okay, so now we have our container. I want us to see it here. Refresh. So we have our container. And guys, please pay attention. You see, without giving this container a padding or whatsoever, or a margin, without giving it a margin, you see that this container is sitting not at the edge of the browser. And this is solely because we use the class name container. So like I said, in Bootstrap, the class name container is a Bootstrap element. So if we change that to container fluid, then it's going to span from the edge here to this edge. But once you use container as a class name, then that container, that div is going to have a margin, left and right just by using container. All right, so let me practicalize that. Let's go ahead and change this to container fluid. So here I will change from HTML. I'm going to change this to container fluid and save. Then now, because the CSS is not seeing this container fluid, so we have to change the name to container fluid. So like I said before, you can use their CSS alongside your Bootstrap to style your website, to make your website even more beautiful. So let's also change the name here from container to container fluid so that CSS will see this. So container fluid. So let's go ahead and launch this and see. So now you see that we have our div spanning from the edge of our browser to the other side of our browser, making that a container fluid. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how the columns work. Let's see how the columns work. So here we are going to create, so we can use, I want this to be container, so let's remove the fluid. And here, let's also remove the fluid. Okay. Let's create another div. And this div is just going to be row. Okay. Now, we'll create another div inside the row. So this, the row div, cut that, has to be inside the main container, which is the container div here. And then here we'll have our column div inside the row div, because in each row we're going to have 12 columns. So let's create this, and here inside here we are going to give this some specific column. But let's have a p tag here and just say something and say this is my first column, just like that. Okay, and here let's ask this to take 4 columns. So we're asking that this first takes 4 columns. So I'm just going to copy this div, and still inside our row div, inside the row div, I'm going to paste this again. So here I will give this second one, I will give it 6 columns, just like that. And let's change this to second. Okay. And I will paste inside our row div here again. I will paste this again. And here I will give this column. We have 6 and 4, that is 10. So we are left with 2 columns. So I'll give this 2. And here I will change this to 10. So let's save that and let's see what we have. Now, we might not see this properly, but one thing I want us to do is to add colors to these different divs so that we can see exactly what we are looking for. So let's go ahead and add colors. So we can let's bring that to the center inside the main div. That's the container div. So let's just say test, and let's take test to center, just like that. Test center. Okay, so here inside each of these div, so just after the column 4, I want us to have a background which is BG for each of them. So let's have a background for a different background for each of them so that we'll see the difference. So let's have BG maybe info here. And then the last div, let's have a BG maybe danger. Okay, so now let's refresh this and see. So guys, pay attention. Now you see we have, this is from here to here is the first div, that is 4 columns. From here to here is the second div, that is 6 columns. And from here to here is the third div, that is 2 columns. So 4 and 6 is 10, and 2, 12. So you see that with these 12 columns, we've been able to have our content from the left to the right, stationed inside our row beautifully well. So this is how you can station your items inside your web page using the grid style that Bootstrap has provided for us. And guys, this is beautiful. It helps make styling easy for you. So for instance, if I need 3 equal columns in my web page, all I need to do is to divide this into 4. For instance, let's say I want to have a testimonial section in my web page. I can easily, with this, I can easily say, okay, I want this to be 4, 4, 4. So this will be 4. This will be 4. So I'm going to have 4, 4, 4. So let me just align items to start here inside the row. So let me align items here. So I'm going to align items here to start. So in Bootstrap, we just use the hyphen. Start. Okay. I think that is fine. So 4, 4, 4. So if we refresh this, we should have now 4, 4, 4. So everything is looking beautiful, right? So we can use this to align our testimonial. We can use this to align our testimonial. Say, hey, this is a testimonial session, and you are not struggling to align to float left, float right. So this is one beautiful thing about Bootstrap. Now, another thing I want us to see, what if we increase this to 14 columns? Is it going to wrap or is it going to overflow? So let's see. We want everything to be in one row, but we just want to try if Bootstrap is correct. If we change maybe the last one to, let's say 6, so now we're going to have 14 columns rather than 12 columns. So let's see what will happen. So now you see it overflows to the next row because in Bootstrap, we have just 12 columns. So anything aside 12 columns, we move to the next row. Anything aside 12 columns, we move to the next row. So let's go ahead and change that to 4. And another thing I want to do is to disable this for now. And let's go back to our web page and refresh. Okay, we didn't save the HTML. Yeah. So now we have our 12 columns here in one row. All right, guys, so that is it about the column grid styling in Bootstrap. It makes sense. And if you want to see that, you can just go through the documentation and you can see the grid style here. You can also see your containers that talk about the container fluid, your breakpoints in container. So you can go through that. Now, so let me also explain the breakpoints to you. Now, so for the breakpoints, we have these sizes for responsiveness. So we have the extra small size, we have the small size, we have medium, we have large, extra large, and extra large. Now, when you see container dash SM is extra small, extra small. When you see container dash MD, it is medium. Container dash LG, it is large. Container dash XL, it is extra large. Container dash XSL, extra large. And container fluid is 100%, spans 100% to whatever size of the screen. So basically, this XM, MD, LG, XL talks about the screen sizes. The screen sizes that our website is going to be shown on. We're going to be doing responsiveness pretty soon, and I will explain this in details to us. So you can, go through it yourself if you have the time, go through it and see the different sizes of your screen and what screen size you can use, what container size you can use for it. If I'm designing for a mobile phone, do I need MD? Do I need LG? Of course, let me just explain that if you're designing for a mobile phone, you are going to use MD for your mobile phone. But you can just go through that, go through documentation, and you should be able to get this. But of course, we're going to get to that pretty soon, where you know how you can work with your responsiveness, responsiveness of your Bootstrap, right? So let's go to the grid style, which I wanted to show us. So this is a grid style, just like what we've done before, right? So you can, have one column, and in that column, you can have one row, and in that row, you can have 12 columns. So here we have 4, 4, 4, right? Making it 12 columns. So you can go through the documentation and see how it works. Okay, let's move on, dive in a bit, just a bit more. The next thing I want to show us will be the margin and the padding property in Bootstrap. So in Bootstrap, I think we can take this. Let's take all this out. And let's just have this P tag. Okay. So in Bootstrap, we have M that stands for margin, just like that. So if I say M4, I am saying margin 4 on our side. We have P that stands for padding. So if I say P4, we are talking about padding 4. All right. Let me make this a display. So here I'm going to have a class. And let's make this a display for something like that. Display 4. And here, let's say we have so for padding, let's give it a padding of 5. Now, padding of 5 means we are saying, give us a padding of 5. Okay, I need to save this first. So we're saying, give us a padding of 5 on the left, on the bottom, the right, the bottom, and the top, the right, the bottom, and the left side. So we can also say, give us padding top only. So padding top is PT. PT stands for padding top. And if we refresh this, now we'll have padding only at the top. We can say, hey, give us a padding bottom, which is PB, or give us a padding right, which is PR, a padding left, which is PL, right? So if you say PL, then you need to add the value of what you want. Now we can, same thing for the margin, we can say margin, I will say margin 5. So margin 5 is for margin top, margin right, margin bottom, and margin left. So you can say margin top, which is MT, or margin bottom, MB. So here we can say MB5. So it's not going to be visible because the web page is. So let's say MT5 and save this. So if we refresh, so we'll have just at the top. So MT, MR, MB, and ML, right? Then we can also use MY. MY, that's a vertical padding, and let's say 10. Or we can use MX. MX, right? So same thing for the P tag, we can say PY for padding, 10. Let's say 5, like that. We can say PX, 6, just like that. So PX, let's do PY, 5. Refresh this. So it gives just the vertical padding, padding top and padding bottom for PY. So PX, horizontal padding, padding right, and padding left. So that is for the margin and the padding for Bootstrap. Now, we are not going to be able to exhaust this in just one class, but we can go through our Bootstrap documentation, sit with it, and work around it. So here, there are components that you can just drag and drop. For instance, if we need a navbar, we don't need to start coding a navbar from the beginning if we know what we want. So this is a navbar already coded for us. This is another navbar. So let's say we want to have a navbar of this nature, or we can have a drop-down links and all that. We can simply just copy this and paste. So let me take this off and let me paste this and save. So if I go to my website and refresh, so here we have our navbar, right? Inside our website. So we can then tweak our navbar around. We can tweak it around to what will fit us. So just go through your navbar. Now you see the container, this container fluid, the class, this is the logo, and the logo here is navbar. So if you have your logo, rather than using the navbar, you can add an img tag here, a source image, and then get your image. But for now, let's just change it to xdev as our logo. All right, so you can just go through it, and you can change the different navigation menu items. So home, we can say about. We can change pricing to maybe products. right, to products. Then here we have our drop down link, so we can change all of this. So we can change this. Let's say this is supposed to be for content, so we can have this as socials. We can have this as maybe location, and we can have this to be maybe just call, right? And save that. So you see, you can, just mess around with this and tweak it to what you want. All right. Another thing I want us to see, maybe before we call it a day in today's session, will be shadows. Shadows in Bootstrap. Okay, so we can add shadows and they are pretty simple. So let's add shadow to our nav bar and see how beautiful that is going to look. So here we can add shadow here, and let's just say shadow, and let's give this P3 and margin button, let's make that 5, and I think that is BG body tertiary, that's fine. So let's save this. And we can also make it rounded if we want, kind of rounded shadow. So if we save that and go to our web page and refresh, you see now we have this beautiful shadow effect. All right, guys. So please go through the Bootstrap documentation and just read through it. Don't rush to just copy the code. Read through it so that you understand what the code is all about. We have a lot here that Bootstrap has done for us that we can just use, but you need to understand what you are using before you use it. For instance, if you need a card that has images, have a button, just copy this. Come to our web page. Here, we paste this and save. So we can tweak this around to fit in what we want to do. For instance, let me refresh our web page. So we have this card sitting here. What if we want this card to be 3 cards in our web page, right? So we can just add this, enclose this inside a div and duplicate this to have 3 cards and change the content of this card, right? So here we see that the card has got width. But what if we don't want to make use of the width? We can just remove the width here. We can remove the width. So here they make use of the external styling as CSS styling. So what we can do inside there, we can give it a column and say make that 4, something like that. So here we're going to have a container. So let me cut this closing tag of the container and paste it down here. All right, so this is wrapped in a container. The next thing we can do is to have a row div here. So we can have a row div. Dot row. So here I will copy the closing tag or cut it, and here I will paste it just before. So we have a container div, we have a row div. Now the next thing we will do, now we have 4 columns used. We can then copy this now. Let me take this down so that you see it. We can copy this now from here. Copy and paste this 2 more times. So we refresh, and now we'll have our card sitting like this. We can use our CSS now to add spacing between, right? Using our margin property to add space in between these guys. Use our CSS to add an image here, and then we can also customize everything. So you see, it makes the work very easy for you. And we can increase the height of this using our CSS. So it makes the work very, very easy for you. So like I said, we can actually connect our CSS to this, and you can, this mustn't be container. We can change the name from container to a custom name. So here we call it a day in today's session. Go through your Bootstrap documentation and see what Bootstrap has got to offer. A lot that you can get from Bootstrap that makes your work really easy. Thank you for joining, and see you again in the next class. Do well to subscribe if you've not. If you have a question, put in the comment section. And share our videos if you find value in these videos. God bless you and enjoy.